scholars, welcome back to our second week of Read Aloud Silent Excitement. Today is April 6th, 2020. Make sure that you're watching it on April 6th, not on April 7th or on April 8th. Make sure you are doing one lesson at a time. Today, we're going to review some skills and go over some skills and practice some skills that we went over last week. I know that we went over character traits and we went over a new chant. I'm gonna go ahead and give you some thinking time to see if you remember the new chant for character traits. All right, do it with me. Character traits, get ready, go. Character traits are the words that describe how a character is as a person, found through their thoughts, actions, dialogue, and feelings. Your turn, get ready, go. Character traits are the... So yeah, that's right. Whoa. So we're going to go over those character traits and we're going to keep looking for predictions. We're going to keep making predictions. I know that good readers make predictions by looking at all of the evidence they found in the text, and they think about like, what is going to happen next? What does this text tell me that might happen next? What is really going to help me? And scholars, this is really going to help us understand what is going on in the story. Today, we're going to read 2 new chapters of Julian, Secret Agent. I want you to pay close attention and make sure that we're able to make predictions in our own minds and maybe figure out character traits or character words that will help us describe the characters or the main characters in this book. I tell a story. It was 3 days later, early in the morning. We haven't gotten in any trouble for being secret agents so far, but nothing exciting had happened either. Since we found Crumbles, we had checked the supermarket parking lots often, looked for dead bodies and sick dogs. We hadn't found either. We had checked the bank about 20 times, hoping someone would rob it. Nobody had. We were back at our secret meeting place in the park, trying to think of where we could find criminals. A known criminal might go to the hospital. Scholars, why does Julian say that they were hoping someone would rob a bank? Why does Julian say that they were hoping that someone would rob a bank? And what does this tell us about his personality? Ooh, I'm going to see if you can think of a character trait that would help us decide that evidence. So we already know, scholars, that he hopes that someone would rob a bank. So I'm going to write that down on my evidence. Hopes someone or a criminal robs a bank. Okay, hopes someone or criminal robs a bank. So we already know the evidence, but what is a character trait that will help us figure out how he is as a person? I know that it could be a negative or a positive. I'm not really sure of a character trait, but I am thinking of one I know of. If somebody really wants to rob a bank is just waiting for something, they have a lot of stamina, I think that this person is a thrill seeker. When someone is just waiting for something to happen, it's like, oh my goodness, I'm waiting for somebody to rob a bank like Julian. They are thrill seekers. We're going to keep reading and see if we can find more evidence that supports the other characters or describes the other characters. Gloria said, to get plastic surgery and change his or her face. Let's go see who's getting surgery, I said. They don't always let children in hospitals, Gloria. I thought about that. I also thought about what Dad would say if he knew we were going to the hospital. I decided he wouldn't say anything. The hospital wasn't far. It was right downtown. It's a good idea to go, I said. If anyone asks us, we could say we're there because your mother is going to have a baby. Why should it be my mother? Gloria demanded. Why not your mother? If our mother ever found out about it, she might not like that story, Huey said. My mother wouldn't like it either, Gloria said. We aren't supposed to make up stories, Huey said. Especially you, Julian. Suppose we just go and we don't make up any story, I said. Suppose we just look around fast. Okay, said Gloria. Okay, Huey said. 10 minutes later, we went through the door of the hospital. We passed the lobby and the gift shop where people buy presents for their sick relatives and friends. We passed a nursing station. A nurse looked at us. Question marks were spinning in her eyes. We're going to see her mother, I explained, pointing to Gloria. I kept walking fast. Julian, Gloria said, did you have to say that? Somebody had to make a sacrifice, I whispered. It just happened to be you. We saw a sign painted in black letters on the wall. It said surgery. There was a big black arrow next to it, pointing straight ahead. We started to slow down. There were patients in the hall walking slowly wearing pajamas. It didn't look as if their faces had been changed recently. Excuse me, Gloria said to one man. What are you having? I had it, said the man. Appendix out. He made a gesture with his hand as if he was pulling something out of his right side. I'm going to show you the picture very quickly. Whoa. I know that Gloria, Julian, and Huey look a little startled. Let's keep reading. Ugh, Huey said. Believe me, said the man, it was better out than in. What are you kids doing here? We're visiting their mother, Gloria said. Maybe you should ask the nurse if you're in the right section, said the man. Oh, nurse, he called. Make like a tree, I said. A tree? Huey said. I'm not a tree. Huey, I said. Leave! And I pulled him by the hand. I hope you're better soon, Gloria called to the man with his appendix out. We zoomed to a sign marked exit as fast as we could go. Whoa. Scholars, what does Huey do when the kids tell him to make like a tree? I wonder if you remember what that means. I'll give you some thinking time. Go ahead and point to your brain. What does Huey do when the kids tell him to make like a tree? Scholars, what does this tell us about his personality? What does this tell us about his personality? Scholars, I know that Huey forgets the signal because make like a tree means to leave, and he forgets all of that. So I'm going to write that down on my evidence. In my evidence, I'm going to say forgets signal, make like a tree. Make like a tree. Okay, so he forgets it, and he forgets that signal. So what does this tell us about his personality, scholars? Could this be a positive, neutral, or negative character trait? I know that I can't be positive because forgetting something can't match up to be a positive character trait. I'm going to go to negative. I don't think he is hard to please. I don't think he's boastful or mysterious. I said not being able to remember things. Forgetful. Well, I think that this really matches Huey. He is forgetful because he forgets in his mind and in his actions to make like a tree. So I'm going to write this down and say forget. I'm going to make sure that I'm writing it exactly as how it is. Forget. Okay. Forgetful. Perfect. Let's keep going and see if we can find a character trait maybe for Gloria or maybe another character trait for Julian or Huey. Chapter 5. We capture the great Goo Goo. Outside on the grounds around the hospital, we caught our breath. We didn't really check very many patients, Huey said. We didn't have time, I said. Of course, I added. A criminal could have seen us coming. In fact, a criminal could be out here hiding in the bushes right now. Just as I said that, a big hedge in front of us started to shake back and forth. "There's somebody," Gloria said. Together, very slowly, very quietly, we started moving up on the hedge. When we got there, we didn't see anybody, but the hedge was shaking again. Well, I wonder what it is, scholars. What does the fact that Julian thinks there are criminals everywhere, even hiding in the bushes, tell us about his personality? I'm going to repeat that one more time. What does the fact that Julian thinks there are criminals everywhere, even hiding in the bushes, tell us about his personality? I'm going to give you some thinking time. Think about it. Is it a positive, negative, or neutral character trait? Is it a positive, negative, or neutral character trait? I really don't know, scholars, what my character trait would be. But I do know the evidence for it, so I'm going to write it down. I'm going to say that he thinks there's criminals everywhere. Okay, so I think, because it has to do with criminals, I don't think this has a positive character trait. I think this is a neutral, so I'm going to go right into a negative character trait. So, I know that dealing with criminals is negative and maybe it's something wrong to do, and I have this word in my head that is suspicious. Suspicious means likely to not trust others or think something is wrong. And I think this is exactly how Julian is. So I'm going to write it down, and I'm going to make sure that as I'm writing, it is matching my spelling. Suspicious. Perfect. Let's keep reading and see if maybe we can find a character trait for Gloria. All right. When we got there, we didn't see anybody, but the hedge was shaking again, farther down, as if it were waving to us. "Faster this time," I said, and we ran. When we got to the other strange spot in the hedge, no one was there either. But right next to it was a very young kid in shorts, the kind of kid who has just learned to walk and goes really fast so he won't fall over. We watched him. He was heading for the hospital fountain. He got to it and just kept walking. Pretty soon, he was in water up to his knees. He turned around and smiled at us. "Goo goo," he said. "Goo goo," Gloria said. "Are you coming out of there?" Goo goo just stared. "Are you coming out of there?" Gloria repeated. "No," Goo goo said. "Do you know how to swim?" Gloria said. "No," Goo goo said. "Does your mother know where you are?" Huey asks. "No," Goo goo said. "Maybe he'll be all right in there," I said. "Are you crazy?" Gloria said. Whoa, there's a lot happening there. Let's keep reading. "No," Goo goo said. "Will you come with us?" Gloria asked. "No," Goo goo said. "What are you going to do?" Gloria said. "If we leave him, he might drown. If we take him out, he'll start to cry. People might think we're kidnapping him. We have to try psychology," I said. "You'd like to come out of the water, wouldn't you, Goo goo?" I asked. I smiled a big smile. Goo goo smiled back. "No," he said. He splashed at us a little. "Psychology is not working," Gloria whispered. "You're right," I said. "It's not. I was worried. I started pulling at the chain around my neck, the chain with my lucky coin on it. All at once, I had an idea. I climbed up on the edge of the mountain. I took the chain off. I made my lucky coin swing back and forth in front of Goo goo's eyes. First, Gugu's eyes, and then his head started rolling back and forth. His hand reached out toward the chain. "You stay right there, Gugu," I told him. "No," Gugu said. I moved my chain to the edge of the fountain. Gugu reached for it. I stepped back onto the grass. Gugu got out of the fountain. I made my coin sway one more time in front of his eyes. Gugu's head swayed and he moved towards me. He kept backing up with Gloria and Huey right next to me. Gugu followed us all the way through the hospital entrance. We heard a voice from the gift shop. I don't know which way he ran. I will lose my mind if I don't find him. Gugu looked up and forgot about my lucky coin. He staggered into the gift shop on his short, fat legs, dripping water onto the floor. "My baby," said a woman. "You found him. We brought him in," I said. Sorry we had to hypnotize him to do it. "He was playing in the fountain," Gloria said. "We didn't think he could swim." "He can't swim," said the woman. "I'm so grateful. I'm so glad he's safe." She squeezed some water out of his hair. "His name is Walter Albert Sims III. And the only word that he can say is no," said the great Gugu. Whoa. Scholars, how does Julian get Gugu out of the fountain? How does Julian get Gugu out of the fountain, and what does this tell us about his personality? I'm going to go ahead and have you think about it. Awesome. Well, scholars, I know that Julian comes up with a plan, a very smart plan actually, to save Gugu without making him scream. So I'm going to write that down on my evidence part where it says Julian. So I'm going to say, comes up with plan, and I'm saying no screaming. I do not have a lot of space, so I'm going to chunk it down and I'm going to say no screaming. And I know that this is really clever, so I'm going to write that down on my character traits. Clever is a character trait. Scholars, can you come up with another word that also means clever? I wonder if you can come up with a better character trait than I can. Well, scholars, so we have talked about Julian, we have talked about Huey, but we haven't came up with a character trait for Gloria. Scholars, I know that in the beginning of the book, I know that Gloria also wanted and she also hoped to find a criminal. So I'm going to write that down. Hoped to find a criminal to rob a bank. I know that we use this word for Julian. Do you remember that word? Yes, it is thrill seeker. I'm going to write that down. She is also a thrill seeker, scholars. Well, and I know that she is also a thrill seeker because it was her idea to go to this hospital to find a criminal, maybe like getting plastic surgery. So I'm going to write that down on my evidence. So I'm going to say hoped to find a criminal in hospital getting, I'm going to say surgery. Okay. These are really great character traits, scholars. I wonder if you came up with even better character traits than I did. I don't know. Let's see. Let's see what happens in our next chapters as we read. Goodbye, scholars. See you tomorrow.